What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Whole Views. This is the second Firearms Friday video that we're uploading here today. We're going to be talking about what's happening with the footage you're seeing of the 22 long rifle. So I pulled out the 22. I purchased a Simmons, you see the box right over there. It is a Simmons 22 mag scope, 3x9 power. It's very, very good. These first shots that you're seeing here in the background, though, are me shooting the gun from a standing position, as well as trying to use the kind of newly installed iron sight that I put. The rear iron sight is a Dove, the normal bow sight. I put that thing right over the top in the back, and I was shooting underneath the scope and just shooting at the regular X in the center. It's about 10-15 yards at those shots, and I just wanted to see if I could actually hit something freehand without having to remove that scope. Let's say the glass breaks and I don't have what I need, but I still need to use the 22 as a, in a pinch. And I can actually, hit a man-sized target at 15 yards with this 22. Which is good. It's good information to have, a good little sample size. But as we get into the footage and start breaking it down and talking about it a little bit more, you'll notice that there are several different issues that come along with the gun, the ammunition, and the scope itself. So, pausing this footage and then rolling in a little bit of different footage, you'll see here that I have the scope rings video. I hate the adjusting turns. I don't like them. The clicks aren't very clean. That's one thing that I note about it. And two, the directions on them aren't really good directions. There's an arrow pointing forward on each side, and it's like, which way to turn this thing? So as I get into shooting a little bit more, you'll notice that I'm shooting, and I'm adjusting, but I'm actually didn't realize that I'm adjusting down instead of up. So that happened quite a bit. Another thing you'll notice is that a lot of the footage, I decided, hey, it's probably smarter for me to sit down and take these shots. So as I'm taking these shots, I am actually seated, and you'll notice the gun comes up a lot. That is because there's so many jams that came with the Ruger 1022. Now, that's not speaking to the reliability of the gun. I'm not saying that the gun is an unreliable gun at all by any stretch of the imagination. But what I am saying is, it's very, 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 very difficult to shoot reliably with lead-nosed rounds. You'll probably notice the rounds in the thumbnail, and it's like, good time, good shooting with horrible, horrible ammunition. This soft point, soft nose, non-covered, non-coated lead ammo, like this thing was bending. Like you see several rounds bent. You'll see several times that I'm shooting a mag of 25 or a mag of 10, and I'll stop like 2 or 3 times per mag and like rack one out, pull one out, and just try to get things right and get things back going. So that happened several times throughout watching the footage and throughout my experience that morning. So at this point, I'm shooting and I'm doing my best to hit like center of the head. So this is 25 yards, this is through the scope, and again, I have other targets that I'll be pulling out later in the footage just to kind of get things really, really, really dialed in. But here I'm shooting just to see where I'm hitting on the paper. Luckily, I didn't have to do any adjustments left or right. All my adjustments while shooting the scope had to be up and down. And again, with the turns being how they work, I noticed that I was turning it down when I was actually trying to turn it up. It was also kind of difficult to get comfortable. Yep, that's what I just said, still hot. And I'm turning it, as you can see here, I'm turning, and I'm thinking, okay, turning it this way is going to get it hitting higher. Actually, it's the wrong way. What was I saying? Oh, one of the things that I felt about this shooting experience is like seated, good things, you're shooting. But there was a big problem with getting the gun level. I wasn't really truly able to gun level made me think about, man, I wish I had that Magpul Hunter X stock or some type of stock system set up to where I could shoot the gun while seated and have it very, very stable. Like a different type of stock, and it's put a bipod on this thing. Looking into ways I can do it with the wood because I do like the wood look. But if I had to give up the wood look to keep or gain a bipod, it's something I would definitely be interested in. Also, well, I'll talk about that later. I don't know if you were able to see it, but I think at one point, just recently in the background footage, you'll see that somebody shot my target. Like one of the people next to me hit in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. See a little piece of paper floating? That's not me. That's somebody else shooting my target. 2 different times my target was shot by people in other lanes. So I'm pointing out what I was trying to do. So at that point, I was trying to shoot freehand, and then at this point, I was aiming right at the center of the head, but I was hitting low. So I was doing some things, trying to turn the turns and get things right. Still wasn't getting things right. Okay, so here I am set up again, going back with the scope dialed in, shooting at the center mass of the head, like right in the center of that head. And you're going to notice that the holes start to get bigger, and it appears like, hey, I'm really not adjusting this thing much at all. So I gave it quite a few clicks after this session. Like you see me here clicking, turning. And I think at that point I was actually going the wrong way. So the shots start to hit lower and lower, and it's like, let me adjust this thing and go back the other way. That's a jam. That's a jam right there. So we got to clear that. Okay, so here we are with the finishing of that target. And, moving right along. Okay, so we have a more precise target up. That's crazy. So my remarks at that point about that being crazy. Here's the deal. This little 22 rifle is so light that I might look like I'm steady in this footage. I am not steady at all. My hands are all over the place. And what's crazy is that if I stood up, see, and I gave up at that point, and I had to sit down and really get my hands steady. But if I come out here and try to shoot with my AK with a little LPV on the top, the AK's weight helps me stabilize the gun so I can hold it on target for way longer than I can this little light 22. It's more like my arms just feeling themselves and feeling like kind of little noodles. It's so weird. It's hard to explain, but a heavier gun is easier to stabilize than a little lightweight 22 rifle. So although I might appear to be, that's a jam. It's a jam right there. Although I might appear to be in real good control to the naked eye, my eyes looking through that scope, I'm seeing that crosshair move all over the place, and I just had to sit down. Okay, we are back ready to go. At this point, I really don't know where I'm aiming. And it's kind of difficult to see. Again, my zoom on my camera was all the way up, and I just wasn't able to get the shot that I wanted. I couldn't get the clear eye on the target at 25 yards. The caliber, being so small, doesn't really help too much either. And that's a jam, another jam.
Out of all the 380s on the market, this one is the best. Now, the second one is also the same gun, highlighted on all of it. It'll shoot even smoother than this. It'll be even better. About $600, maybe $700.
is an aggravating jam too. Pissed me off right here.
Oh shit.
Oh, I burned myself.
Oh yeah. I got the throat. I got the little hungry.
Okay, so that bat's whole nother jam. Trying to clear. Anytime that barrel goes up like that, that's a jam. And it's just those lead nose rounds. Like, they don't go in right. And then me, without really checking all the way, I just rack it a few times. And then you get bent case, bent nose of the round. Horrible situation. You hear, if you can listen closely, you might hear me cursing. It's aggravating with the jams. Still fun overall time, but those jams was aggravating. Okay, so this part coming up is probably one of my funniest parts of the outing. I'm gonna switch targets, I believe, at this point, and really start to try to have fun. But before I do, the ladies. Yeah. She was so hyped. Like, and that was just a tip. That was just a small piece because she had went off way harder before that, and then I decided, you know what, I need to catch them really cutting up because I might feature them. And I did a whole video just talking about them and firearm ownership and stuff. They had a damn good time, man. It was a good time for those ladies. Like, if you listen to them really close in the background, I'm gonna try my best to keep the audio as loud and as clear as it can be. But you'll notice that they start talking about forming a gun club and like having little jackets or shirts made or something like that. They really sorry if I talked over it. That was an audible frustration to another jam. This thing jammed a lot. I think I had a total of 12 rounds that jammed up, and then from that I had another 8 that I couldn't just breech load, like put it straight in the tube. That rounds that had to just like get thrown away. Like, trash. I say thrown away, but I don't know what I did. It might happen still. I want to take the shell off, get the pot off, because I'm weird. So here I'm just kind of inspecting. I'm still trying to line things up quite a bit. So bring it into maybe like 10 yards, 15 yards where I can see it a little bit clearer, because again, my eyes are not the best. But I bring it in, I assess it, and then after that I decide, okay, let's try to tune it just a little bit more before we really cut loose, because right towards the end I really decide, like, hey, let's aim at the big target and let's just let it go. Let's really cut loose and try to enjoy yourself. So we back now at about 25 yards there, trying to shoot freehand again, standing up, and it's just a little too difficult. So at this point I decide, let's see if we can get this thing as fine-tuned as we can at a close range. Make some adjustments really, really close. Sitting, sitting, and then see if we can push it back out to 25 yards. I'm not an expert. I've never came on here and said like I'm an expert at what I do. So just to let you know that. Okay, so things really start to get interesting here at about 10 yards. I put the arrow in there because it's one of the spots where I really realize I'm hitting very close to where I want to be hitting. Just a little bit low still. But you're going to see that hole start to get wider, putting rounds through the same hole or right in the same area. So I know at this point the gun is really hitting almost where I want it to hit. Okay, so at this point we push it a little further back, still not 25, but just a little further back, aiming at that same little hole. Okay, here we go.
Not that bad. Is it a rain mattress?
Now we're aiming at the center.
No, it's not. It's, yeah.
Jam.
I think it's better if I tell myself to shoot, just to let you know.
At 9? What didn't you like about the 9? The grip. The grip.
Okay, we back up. No, we switching mags at this point.
They don't want it to hold it tight. Yes. So, and then you start. Oh, it's big.
I think you said it. Okay, I closed my eyes. The first one. Did I hit the 5? But the other 3 times, I didn't.
Okay, keep your eyes in that center.
That's not bad.
I have a gift certificate for him. I do too. I don't think it does.
Jam.
Yeah. I think I get a bit of.
Switch mags.
Why you keep making it go further?
I mean, because I was like, yeah, we can make it.
Here's the ladies. The ladies are about to kick us again.
And it's worth $350. Oh, I took $50 less. I got mine so long. But I like the way she had that. Little scat. Yeah, I would definitely my best.
Oh, so at that point, when you hit that double tap, that was just me banging a mag on the bench rest. Trying to get those rounds properly seated.
Target is not even in the. Wow.
estimate, this is where I started up here, right? Then I walked down here. Still not right where I want to be. We go over up here, and I started having a real nice little group. Moved down, it's like, okay, figured out this turn on top, and then bam, we're basically where we want to be. We're basically where we want to be. So at this point now, it's just plain old fun. I'm going to stand and fire off quite a few rounds. Instantly, one round, jam. Just as soon as you hit one shot, just bam, it's a jam. And it happens so often.
Have y'all looked at that new subdivision off of today?
One round, jam.
Hey now.
Drop the mag. Put the mag back. At this point, frustration was like really high. And I think I'd even at one point tried to load those bad rounds back in. Had to strip one. Still not working. The frustration. Like, if I would have caught more footage of me sitting down, you would have saw so much more of that, just fighting with the gun, fighting with the rounds. But here we are. I believe this is the last mag. Overall, I have to say, the experience was fun. The scope is sighted in to a point where I'm very happy with it. I'm hitting almost exactly where I want to, which is something I've never achieved with my AR, which is why I opted to really like move away from the platform. Like, over the years, I've had at least 3 ARs, and I've never hit exactly where I wanted to hit. Not like with my AK, not like with the 22. So I was like, you know what? Let's hold on to those shoulder-fired weapons and move away from that AR platform. I'm really, again, really happy with the 22. Really enjoy Ruger as a brand. And besides those lead-nosed rounds, I feel like overall this was a very good experience to go out and shoot that many rounds out of that gun. You see, and this is a different set of rounds. This is hollow point, like brass or copper plated, so it's good to go. It's flowing like nothing. I didn't want to shoot a lot of those because I don't have as many of those rounds. But in the future, when it comes to 22 plinking and like going out and I just want to shoot, that's what I'm gonna invest my money into. Some good, like, plated rounds. Anyway, everybody, hope you enjoyed the footage. I'll let it roll on out on its own. Let you guys enjoy the last few rounds that I take. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and please come back, check out more videos.